Welcome to Push with Love. Today we have Miss TJ. Miss TJ, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am so blessed to be here with Mr. Micah and be able to share hopefully some gold nuggets with people today. I'm Miss TJ. I have a podcast called Soul Hygiene with Miss TJ. My website is soulhygiene.net. And I don't know, like I went through 25 years of trauma and started my healing journey in 2019 after being on the precipice of ending my life. And now I'm here. I'm blessed. Um, I don't hardly have any anxiety anymore, and I just want to help people understand that they don't have to be a victim. They can be victorious over whatever is going on in their lives and in their mind.
That's beautiful. So, when you were getting into coaching or mentoring, what was the biggest why for you or the motivator?
It's funny that you use the word motivator because I don't really consider myself a quote unquote life coach, right? I'm kind of in that, have been put in that niche, but I do consider myself a soul motivator. And why I say that, I've kind of created my own category, I guess. But why I say that is because the soul is the most important thing that we have to take care of. Um, for me, when I started healing, God just showed me that my inside needs to be cleansed. I had to do a lot of really, and I call it soul scrubbing, for a couple of years to understand, why do I think this way? Why did I do this? Why did I make these choices? Um, so when it comes to coaching, I mean, I will sit down and try to mentor, but I don't consider myself a life coach. I consider myself a step before you go and find a life coach, before you go and find a relationship coach. Because I feel like when you're getting into those niches and you're asking people to help you in those areas, you're already ready to do the work. And so for me, soul scrubbing is more important. You need to know who you are first. You need to know your core values. Are your core values intact with who you are? You need to understand how you react and how you feel. All of those things are very important, because if you go into another coaching with somebody else before you know who you are, then you're doing that work first. And I just feel like soul hygiene has to do with everything in life, every single thing we do, because we're always making decisions that affect our lives or someone else's lives. So for me, I would consider myself more of a soul motivator mentor, more that way instead of a coach. Um, I don't do things like regular coaches do. I'm just that way. God created me to be unique, and I just don't think like a lot of people. My system really works on how that person wants to take accountability for their motivation. So the first step to in my system is for them to take accountability. What do they want from me and what do they want to get out of it? And then I let them put the price tag on it. And then I let them know this is what I can do within that range. But I want them to understand that it's in their hands. Their healing is in their hands. Their victory over whatever's going on is in their hands. It's not mine. I can't heal you. I cannot even motivate you if you are not ready to be motivated. If you're not ready to heal, I can't make you. So that's where I'm a little bit different and it works. I do a free discovery call to kind of see where people are. And I don't deter people if they say they can't afford it because I think everybody needs soul hygiene.
Mm.
Everybody needs to know how to soul scrub. Some people don't. And that's where I think I come in. I've learned a lot over these last 5 years. God has given me some wisdom. Um, he's opened up my eyes to some discernment. I am a faith based soul motivator. So a lot of my coaching has to do with, the Bible and bringing verses out. But um, I do love working with people who don't believe in God or don't have a religious background or anything. Because to me, I find that even more interesting and I can expound more. Um, I don't just deal with people who, have the faith I have. Everybody needs soul hygiene. Everybody needs to soul scrub. It's just helping them understand that they don't have to be a victim. And that's why I use the tagline nurturing minds and nourishing souls. Because if that's all I can do for you, if I can just nurture your mind a little bit and give you a little nourishment for your soul, then that's what soul motivation's all about.
That's beautiful. So I feel like finding that why, that's probably the most important step when it comes to motivating or, as you put, the soul hygiene and soul scrubbing. Because if you can get that person uh, to their why,
Mm-hmm.
that's really the major step in the right direction. Because a lot of times people don't really understand or know what their why is. They they are either lost in the fog or they just haven't ever asked themselves, what is it they want? So I feel like that service that you provide is really you're helping them in so much more than they realize when you can get them to their why just by providing that space.
I think their why comes when they have to be accountable.
Mm.
In the beginning, when I ask them questions, why do you want to start healing? Who are you? What are your core values? Where do you stand? They come to their why very quickly. And I think for every coach, and this is where I get a little bit off on a tangent, if I may, for a few minutes. Um, there are so many coaches in the stratosphere. And I would like to believe that every single coach is a coach because they want to help people. Um, I have found that not to be true. It's very lucrative, and they can just spout a bunch of words over and over, the same words to every single person that's asking for help, um, and not differentiate them and their personalities, not actually help them as a person. So I guess my first thing would be, have you coached you? Are You can't lead people into clarity if you yourself are foggy. So the last couple of coaches that I have dealt with, I've said, did you do your system yourself? You know, um, do you ask your clients to do what you say, or do you say what I wish like you can't just tell your clients, just do this. And I find like there is so many coaches that do that. And it actually makes me sad. It actually makes me sad because you're not helping people. Um, you're chasing them for money, making them feel bad when they don't take you on for another 6 months or another, 2 weeks. And you're not getting to the root core of who they are. So here's my encouragement for coaches. I would love to be a soul motivator to coaches. honestly, I think a lot of coaches need to do their own soul scrubbing. If you haven't lived it, how can you teach it? And it may be a diet system. I've done a few of those. It may be life coaching, it may be relationship coaching. But how can you be a relationship coach if you have failed marriages or you are not married? Or how can you be a family counselor if you don't have kids? And I understand people go to college, they learn these things, but they're words. They're just words on paper. I think coaches who have a lived experience are better coaches, or in my case, motivators, because we've lived it and we know how good it is on the other side to have victory over that trauma that we had dealt with all these years. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I feel that experience does trump education, formal education, all the time, in most scenarios. And when it comes to leading other people and coaching them in their lives, as you put with the relationships or even business, it's one of those things that you have to have the experience in order to really understand process intimately, or you're just recycling information. Now, when you approach soul scrubbing with somebody, I'm sure that you would see there is a lot of difference in each person. So it's almost a case by case basis. When you find that uh, somebody needs adapting to or their process, how do you approach adapting to their needs so that you don't have to just simply push them off onto somebody else or say that you can't help them?
Well, that's a good question. I think for me, um, I like my people that I work with to journal because okay, so like for example, um, every client is different. I mean, we can agree on that. No one is identical. Everyone has a different personality. So I think it's not them adapting to what I'm trying to help them with, it's me adapting to them. So I'm not going to have a script. I'm not going to have something in front of me that I say to every single person, right? How I like to approach it first is with the accountability factor, but then for the first week, I give them a word each day to meditate on. And at the end of the week, what they have journaled or what they feel that word means to them kind of tells me where they're at in life, where their mindset is, what, you know, top two things they specifically need help with. So, like insecurity, or which I have a lived experience in, trauma, which I have a lived experience in, right? So, I do have like a checklist I do give people before I do work with them to for them to kind of just fill it out, tell me how they're feeling. What is one top concern you have? Um, so I do try to get as much information out of them as possible. Um, since I started healing, God has really given me some insight, I guess, into people where I can watch them and see how they interact to kind of also know how they're feeling, what may be bothering them. But I do ask that they just come and be honest. I'm really not a person who likes to beat around the bush when it comes to this kinds of things because the quicker you understand what you need, the quicker your healing can begin. But the understanding has to be there. And like I said, I adapt to them. And I feel like if a person, like for me, who is a soul motivator, who has that lived experience, can adapt to them, they're also going to feel that compassion. They're going to feel that empathy. They're going to feel that love and kindness. You know, the biggest part about being on someone who wants to help someone else is that you can't shove it down their throat. You can't beat them over the head with it. You have to come with love, no matter what kind of coach you are. No matter what kind of coach you are. And coaches are separate from therapists, psychotherapists, and all that, Um, but no matter what kind of coach you are, you should come with love, you should come with kindness, and you should come humble and willing to help them. I don't feel like a coach should take an experience from someone and turn it into a tool for somebody else. That's
Mhm.
one thing that really bothers me, because it should be what you know deep within you. That's where your motivation or your coaching should come from. Your experience, not using the experience of your client to use on somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It comes off more sincere when it's
Mhm.
lived. So when you're looking at a client and they are needing that encouragement to get motivated and they are struggling with accountability and you have to exercise some tough love, that is the one thing that I always wonder about is that where's that line for a mentor to be like, well, we have to keep you accountable. Can't keep giving you motivation and not having you uh, proceed with the plan or the action.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for you, how do you approach this idea?
That that is a tough one, I think, for any coach because you don't want to lose a client, but you also don't want to come across mean, at least for me. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of why I went to almost like the honor system for payment because that is their first accountability test. That is where they have to determine what they're worth and what I'm worth to them. And accountability is a hard thing. We don't have a lot of it in this society nowadays. And people hide behind a victim mentality or a life on social media that isn't true. Um, and so it's it's a very hard topic to get someone to understand who is not a person who likes to take accountability. And I will give you a little short thing about how I had to, because again, it's a learned experience. I did not, or I was not to blame for some of the things that happened to me when I was younger and through the 25 years of trauma. It wasn't my fault that I was abused. It wasn't my fault that I was, emotionally and physically hurt and harmed. My accountability for me had to come in the form of apologizing to my children for keeping us in this situation and not being strong enough to leave and allowing the abuse to continue. So, and that's me, okay? Everyone is different. Everyone has a different accountability factor, right? But that's where it gets a little, you want to have compassion, you want to have empathy for a situation. And usually I know right off the bat if that person wants to take accountability and wants to heal, or if they're just going to sit and wallow. Because I don't, I'm not a babysitter for your feelings, right? I'm not, I'm not the hotline. I'm to get you to understand that your inside's kind of dirty. I'm the person that is going to try and get you to understand that it can get clean, but it's up to you. And I don't, I haven't had to push accountability because people who look at me and read, my blogs or read my soul snippets or anything like that, they understand that when you reach out, you're ready to heal. You're ready to go. You're ready. And that's your first accountability. So if I had someone who was not ready, I would say, okay, that's all right. But come back when you are. Because I can't talk you into accountability. I can't talk you into healing. You're either ready or you're not. And that's where I feel like I'm a different kind of motivator because I'm not going to hold on to you just because you have money or you're paying me. I truly want you to understand who you are and want to heal. And if you're not ready, I can't push you. So come back when you are, you know? So that's kind of me where I'm at.
I love it. I feel like that's probably the best way to approach it. You want to push them into the accountability, but you don't want to force them. So
Right.
it's like, it's that real fine balance, I suppose, between the two. Push them with love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for people that either are interested in getting into mentoring or coaching or therapy or really anything, any type of, I guess, leadership, what advice would you give them to kind of help them get in the right direction right off the bat so they don't have to learn the hard way?
I would be very cautious about what type of coaching you're getting into. First off, I would do my research. Like I said, I've kind of created my own label, I guess. Um, I would caution, and this is just my advice and what I have seen. If you're chasing something and you're chasing clients, but you don't know that product, that experience, then pause. Live what you are trying to help people through or to. Um, and know when a certain niche is not for you. You know, I am trying to lose weight. I've been overweight most of my life and I'm trying to lose weight. I'm on that journey. I'm learning all about nutrition and all the stuff I never knew about. I'm not going to be a nutritional coach. I have not lived that experience. I have not lost that weight. I don't know all of that, right? I've been married a couple times. I went through 25 years of trauma. I've had broken relationships. I'm not going to be a relationship coach, even though now God has shown me whatever a true relationship should be. That has to do with soul motivation. That has to do with soul hygiene. I don't have to be a relationship coach for that, right? I've been in finance for over 30 years. I just got done writing a digital download called Soul and Sense for Christian women and their finances, if they're single moms or divorced women. I can talk on that. I have that lived experience. So I think what I'm trying to say is don't chase something just for money, just because it's lucrative, because then you're just using your clients. Go into something because you have a heart for it. And you don't know you have a heart for it until you know who you are as a person. So look me up before you start coaching. I'll
Mm.
soul motivate you. And then, I feel like I really do feel like coaches need soul motivation before they go into their own coaching field. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, that would just be my little snippet of advice, I guess.
that's beautiful. And I agree. I feel like if it's authentic and you've lived it, then you absolutely speak on it. And there's way too many, in my opinion, way too many people out there that are just doing it for the money, or they're really good salesmen. They just know how
Yeah.
to sell, and which, that's a great skill. But at the same time, you're just doing it for the money. You're not really helping them, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
do wish coaches were different, but I
yeah,
think and right now it's so saturated. Like everybody's a coach.
yeah. I mean, it's lucrative for the salesman, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think authenticity, I think a lot of people are looking for authenticity and for a person who truly cares about that.
Yeah.
And if you can't be authentic and not truly care about somebody that you're trying to coach, and it's just another client, I would stop and pause and maybe do a little soul scrubbing before you keep going.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I do love that idea of kind of cleansing our soul a little bit because just like everything else, things get dirty. And if you neglect it, you're definitely going to need to clean it.
Yeah.
So I really can appreciate that idea. So if you have any closing remarks, please feel free, say anything you'd like to say goodbye.
Well, I just really appreciate you having me on. Um, it's nice to be on the opposite side of the interview sometimes. Um, I don't know. I really hope that people are searching for what's true. Truth is subjective to a lot of people, but it's really not. Truth is truth.
Yeah,
And you can have your truth, but that truth is a fact that has happened to you. It's not really a truth. Truth is black and white. It's concrete, it's built on a rock. Um, and I know that not a lot of people agree with that, but I think once you get anybody, once you get to the core of who you are and the truth of who you are, that's when healing begins. That's when accountability happens. But you have to be willing to look at yourself, sometimes in the ugliest light, and say, okay, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to soul scrub. It's kind of like gold, when you're melting gold and it gets that dross on top, all the infirmities that float to the top of it. We're scraping that. We're scraping that away because we want that gold that's clear. You can see through it. And that's what I want to get people to. I want them to understand, and you don't need me. You may just need God. You may just need prayer. You may just need to go to church on a Sunday and sit down and listen to a preacher one day, you know? But it is up to you. Soul hygiene is up to the individual, and it starts with them being accountable for who they are.
beautifully put. I think that we can all agree that accountability is the one thing that
Yeah.
is the truth.
Yeah.
When we can look at ourselves and accept ourselves and then move forward from there.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing for a lot of people, is just
It
finding
is.
acceptance. Well, I appreciate your time and all your wisdom that you shared with me
Oh,
today.
thank you.
And thank you for everything. I know that you've helped me on multiple occasions,
Oh,
encouraging me and motivating me. So thank you for that.
that's my pleasure. I feel blessed every time we get to talk. So we'll have
Mm.
to do this again soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. thank you again. And this has been Push with Love. Till next time.
See you later.